Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It is so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? Sorry I'm late. I keep pushing my workouts way too late. I know you don't care. I apologize. I just my workouts keep going longer and longer and longer, and I'm not prioritizing my time right. So I apologize for that, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. And today, everyone, we actually have some good topics to talk about. I'm really excited for today's episode because we actually have some really good stuff that we can dive into and discuss. So, what are those topics? First of all, it's going to be a really Xbox heavy show today. I don't think that's going to be too surprising because we've gotten so much Xbox news in the past few days. So, Xbox, I feel like, is really going to drive this week's chat, but as always, you can ask me about whatever you want, so it doesn't have to be Xbox focused. I just suspect that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today, given all of the news. So, what did we find out? Well, Microsoft's financials, first of all, that's a really big thing, and then we also got the announcement of the Bethesda and Xbox showcase. We have a date for that. It's going to be June 12th, and then we also just found out shortly before this stream started that the shareholders for Activision Blizzard have approved, on their end of things, they voted in favor of the Microsoft acquisition by more than 98%. So a landslide there, right? Landslide. So clearly they want to sell the company. Of course, there's still some legal stuff they have to go through, quite a bit. So this deal isn't done, but it's a very clear message and indication that Activision Blizzard on their side, the shareholders, the stockholders, they want to sell. So that's the first big leap, and now they have the regulatory side. So I'm going to break down Microsoft and Xbox's financials for you in just a second. But first of all, let me give my spiel off the top in case there's anybody new here in the chat. Wait, someone's saying, OMG, my mic. What's going on with the mic? Everyone's saying my mic. Check. Oh, is it really loud? Check. How is that? I don't know what happened. Is this better? People are saying the mic volume's insane. Let me see if I fixed it. That's hilarious. Let me know if it's still too loud. I don't know what happened. I literally have no idea. Echo. I've never had that happen before. Check. Is this still really bad? I turned the volume way down. Still super weird. Interesting. Distorted. I'm going to unplug my mic and plug it back in. Anything? Well, due to technical issues, maybe we're not going to do this chat. Which would be suck. Because we have so much to talk about. Is it still bad? Check. What about now? That was a bad start of the stream. So if you're new here, it's not usually like this. New mic drivers? Maybe. I turned the gain way down too. Better? People are saying better. A lot better. We good? Did that fix it? Let me know. Yeah, everyone's saying check the gain. I turned the gain way down. Like, it's pretty low. Better. All right, everyone's saying better. Hopefully that's good enough to at least do the stream. If not, if this is, like, unbearably bad, let me know. Beginning was way too loud. Better. Okay, all right. Hopefully it's good enough now, and we'll do the stream, and we'll see what happens. I now have my gain, I think, pretty much as low as it can go. All right, everyone's saying a lot better. So we're going to do the stream, all right, because it's bearable, I think, at least. It's not blowing your eardrums out. I have no idea what happened. I'm guessing maybe there was some sort of drivers update or something. Good. All right. Everyone's saying good. All right. There we go. Sorry about that. if you're new here, this is not normally how this chat starts. For some reason, my mic blew up, and I'm not 100% sure what happened. All right, everyone's saying completely normal. No idea what happened there. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you're new here to the chat or not, basically the way this stream works, it's a show, it's a stream, it's 100% driven by you guys, your comments, your questions. We basically just break down the latest video game industry news and dive into the biggest topics of the week. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want, they pop into chat, and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can per chat. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that's going to be the super chat option. You just type a donation, whatever you want, it pops into super chat and I get to super chats immediately. As always, don't feel pressured or obligated to donate in chat. It's just a way to help support me in the channel and also guarantee that I get to your question. I usually can't hit every free question, so that guarantees it, but again, don't feel pressure or obligated, just a way to help me and the channel. All right, cool. Everyone says we're pretty much good to go. So let me really quick give you the overarching view about what happened with Microsoft's financials, because we actually got a lot here. The disappointing part is going to be, of course, that we didn't get the granular detail that I would say we get from like Sony and from Nintendo for their gaming divisions, right? You get a lot more super detailed info there in terms of like profit margins, in terms of units shipped of games, just a lot more, right? They give you a lot more detail on the business. Microsoft, unfortunately, for a really long time, this has been going on for a long time, they just give us a lot less information. But there are some really good things here that we can point out. Okay, some really good stuff. So first of all, just as a whole, these are the revenue mostly results here, right? So gaming revenue grew 6% overall, right? 6% growth. Not a huge number, but it's actually a steep comparison. So we're going to go into it. Content and services grew 4%, and that's compared to a strong prior year thanks to Game Pass growth. So they're saying Game Pass continues to increase in subscribers and the performance of first-party titles, and they said that offset declines on third-party. So even though we had like Elden Ring, for example, this quarter do gigantic, you know, it's not really a mystery that Call of Duty, for example, has been really underperforming this year. And, you know, it's easy to forget because it came out last year, but usually these Call of Duty games are still doing gigantic numbers in January, February, March, right? So that's not the only one. It's third parties in general. But even though we've had some really big launches, some really big wins, some of the games that are usually, you know, helping carry the industry seem to be slowing down compared to maybe previous ones. But it was still growth, right? Not a huge number in content and services, but it's still up, which is good. But here's the highlight, right? Here's the thing that I think caught all the headlines and the things that a lot of people are going to be asking about. Xbox hardware revenue grew 14%. That's pretty freaking good considering shortages, right? A 14% growth year over year. That's pretty darn nice. Driven by continued demand for Xbox Series X and S. So, we got some more info on the actual earnings call. I was on that call, and Satya Nadella talked about the past 2 quarters in a row, Xbox Series X and S has gained global market share. Now, what does that mean? It just means that they are slowly, this isn't a huge amount, but it's basically an indication that they are closing the gap with PlayStation 5, for example, right? They're taking market share. Keep in mind, globally, Xbox Series X and S is definitely still behind PS5, you know, by several million units, but they are slowly closing that gap for the last 2 quarters. So that means they are making some gains compared to what the gap was before. And then the other thing that he noted, which this is big, Xbox Series X and S were the best-selling new generation consoles in the United States, Canada, UK, and Western Europe in the first 3 months of the year. Now, that is 4 of your biggest markets in the world for video games. It's not everyone, right? So clearly, you know, we know that Xbox wasn't ahead of PlayStation in Japan. Satya didn't note that other Asian markets that they were ahead, or, you know, there's no great tracking for South America, so who even knows, to be honest, who is shipping or selling more there. So I think that's part of the reason why they didn't even touch on that. Who knows, right? There's no really solid trackers for the South American market, unfortunately. So it's not every market, but that is 4 of the biggest in the world, right? US, Canada, UK, and Western Europe. So really strong results for Xbox Xbox hardware in particular in the first 3 months of the year. That, to me, out of all the earnings, was the major standout. Seeing the overall division grow in revenue is nice. Seeing content and services grow, even a small percent, is still nice. You always want to see growth, but that hardware, that's the real highlight. And we found out on the earnings call, and also some reporting right before the earnings call, that hardware was ahead of what they forecast. They sold even more Series X and S's than they thought they were going to for this 3 months. So some good stuff, some really good stuff there out of Xbox. And yeah, we can now talk to, start diving into your comments and questions, everyone. So start filling that chat up of anything that you want to talk about in the video game industry. Sorry for the rough start on this week's chat. That normally doesn't happen. Okay, I think we have a couple super chats off the top. Let me hit those. Timmer72299 with a 2 super chat. No question today. Just wanted to show my support. Thank you so much, Timmer. Keep rocking on Twitter. Keep doing your thing. And thank you for being so supportive in every single chat that I have. Benji here with a 10. Thank you so much, Benji. Again, just like Timmer, thank you for being in every chat pretty much and always doing super chats. Thank you so much, Benji. Benji, it seems Activision Blizzard monthly active users dropped by 50 million from 435 to 372 million. That seems huge. Any specific reasons cause for concerns long term? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I did a terrible job of covering Activision Blizzard this year on their earnings because they've been so boring ever since the Microsoft acquisition was announced. They haven't even been doing earnings calls. So I've been really sloppy on my research about how they're performing quarterly at the moment. I'm going to assume that what you're saying here is right, Benji, because I'll be honest, I cursorily glanced over the earnings, but I haven't sat there and done a ton of deep diving. So the numbers off the top of my head, I don't know. But I'm going to assume you're right here. It's definitely concerning, right? Which goes into exactly what we've been talking about on Activision Blizzard, and why, I was saying this just a little bit ago to somebody. I was saying I don't really want to see a ton more consolidation in the video game industry amongst the biggest publishers, but I actually am personally 100% in favor of the Activision Blizzard acquisition, because I think it's the best chance that company has to be a better company. I really do. If you look at all of the scenarios ahead of them, this is the rare example. I don't know that I could say this about any other publisher but Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft's the one other one that if they get acquired by anybody, whoever it is, PlayStation, Xbox, Amazon, whatever, I don't think it'll really bother me that much, because Ubisoft's another company that's just in a ton of trouble. So Activision and Ubisoft are the two publishers where I'm like, I actually am in favor of them being acquired, because I think there's ways to fix these companies that maybe another company coming in can help them. So that is a steep drop. We know Call of Duty has massively underperformed. There's literally just no way to phrase it. It is a gigantic underperformance by Call of Duty Vanguard. We've known that since launch, and the legs continue to be abysmal by Call of Duty standards. Okay, this is a bit of a disaster. Now, I'm sure some people are going to ask me about Modern Warfare 2, which was just officially announced earlier today. We knew there was one coming. They said it was going to be the next Infinity War Modern Warfare, but it's got the logo. It's the official reveal. I'm expecting that to do gargantuan numbers. So I don't think this is a Call of Duty-wide problem. But Vanguard, I think, going back to World War II was a huge mistake. I think people are done with going back to retro wars for a while, because we had a bit of a lot of them within a few years. So Vanguard massively underperformed. That is without a doubt going to impact those numbers. What some other ones could be, I don't know. Maybe World of Warcraft is seeing a bit of a decline, but I honestly don't know 100% off the top of my head. Again, I'm really sloppy on this one, Benji, with Activision Blizzard. So I would say the biggest factor has got to be Call of Duty. Overwatch probably losing players too, though we're seeing that potentially massively rebound, but Overwatch has just had no content, so it's a problem. Activision Blizzard has a lot of problems, and that's why this Microsoft acquisition could potentially really help them. All right, thank you so much for that super chat. We got a 2 super chat here from SplitEnd89, best mod in the business. Thank you so much, SplitEnd, man. Thanks for being a good friend and always being here. That Modern Warfare 2 logo teaser, I'm back in 2009, man. Yeah, like I said, I think this is going to be gigantic. So Call of Duty 2019, Modern Warfare 2019, that was the fastest selling Call of Duty ever. And think about how long that franchise has been around, how many entries there have been for every year. So for any of them, at this point, any Call of Duty breaking a record is going to be shockingly impressive, just because it's not like a game where there's 3 games in the franchise where it's like, yeah, each game you have not a lot of competition with yourself. So you got a decent amount of setting the record. Call of Duty has so many other Call of Duties to compete with when it comes to records. So to see Modern Warfare 2019 be the fastest selling one ever, that game sold over 30 million units in less than a year. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact months, but it was something wild, like in only like 10 months or something like that. It hit 30 million sold. Absolutely shocking numbers. So this game's going to be gigantic. Vanguard massively underperformed, but I think people like that modern setting more. I think people really like Infinity Ward. I know within the hardcore Call of Duty community, there is actually some debate amongst this, right? There's some people in the hardcore Call of Duty community, they're like competitive and stuff, that didn't think the multiplayer for 2019 was that great. But I can tell you, in terms of like casual players, Modern Warfare 2019 was beloved. You could tell just by the legs on that thing. So yeah, this is going to be gigantic, Split End. It is going to be huge. Is it going to sell faster than Modern Warfare 2019? I'll be honest, that's impossible for me to say until we see more of this game, get way more info. But do I expect it to absolutely crush what Vanguard and even what Black Ops Cold War did? Yeah, it'll be much bigger than those, in my opinion. The question's just if it can pass, and Cold War did really good. But can it match Modern Warfare 2019 and be the fastest selling ever in the franchise now? We'll have to see. I think that depends on the quality, but it'll be huge. It'll be giant, Split End. All right, I think, oh no, we got a couple more super chats coming in here. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Joseki here with the 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Joseki. Splatoon 3 date, 3rd most liked gaming tweet. Joseki, it's going to be freaking insane. So this thing did 361,000 likes. Y'all, Splatoon 3 is going to do ridiculous numbers, particularly in Japan. You know, this is going to be big worldwide. There's no doubt about it. You saw the growth from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2. I mean, it was a gigantic growth for the franchise. Splatoon 3, I think, is going to be the best selling of all of them. I really do, because it has such a big install base to launch on now. You know, Splatoon 2 came out pretty early in the generation, right? So it didn't have a giant install base to launch on, and while legs have been good, I think Splatoon 3's launch will be huge because that Switch community is so big now. It has so much buy-in on those first-party games. Yeah, and in Japan particularly, Splatoon 3 is just going to be absolutely crazy. So, Joseki, insane numbers. That game is going to be gargantuan. Bigger than Splatoon 2 in my opinion. You know, can it be the first Splatoon game to hit that crazy 20 million threshold that we see from some Nintendo first-party games? I don't know. That'd be a big jump. I think Splatoon 2 off the top of my head was like 12 million, maybe 13, right around there. So it would take a lot of growth to hit that 20 mark, but maybe. You know, we'll have to see. But at the very least, I think it will outsell Splatoon 2. Ken B with a 20 super chat. Holy cow, Ken. That is very generous. Thank you so much. That's very, very generous, Ken B. 20 coming here from Ken. Thanks for your tweets. Following your friend's suicide last week. Oh, yeah, this was tough. Your message and overall positivity is what we need these days. Please don't apologize for these types of tweets. Much love to their family. Yeah, this has been... don't worry, I'm going to get right back into games on this, but I had a lot of people reach out really kindly on that. That was hard to go through. I'm not going to go into details. Me and this person, we hadn't been super close in years, right? It had been quite a while since we were like super close hanging out with each other. But, you know, there was a time there towards the end of high school where I definitely considered them a friend. I mean, I was at their house a lot, you know, and it's a really bad situation, okay? Really bad. I'm not going to go into details. I don't want it to be about me, but, you know, I'm friends with their family on Facebook and everything, and seeing what their family is going through, it is freaking brutal, dude. Brutal stuff to read. Absolutely brutal. It's very hard. So, thank you. I hope if my tweets could help anybody that's struggling reach out for sure, and trying to get help and try and find someone to talk to, because it's really bad, man. It's really, really bad. Not fun. Not fun. So thank you, Ken. And yes, my thoughts are with their family too, and it's really hard stuff to read. Very hard. Okay. Thank you for that super chat. Let's all right. Thank you so much. Let's get back into your free questions now. Free questions. I think we're clear of super chats. Okay, Hamishly Ford. Sup, Benji? Finally got that Xbox show announcement. Loved the event image and Starfield tease. How long do you think Starfield showcase will be? I say around 8 minutes. Also, what do you expect in general? Yeah, so I'm very glad to finally have something on the board, right? We've been talking in these recent chats, and it's great to see you, Hamishly. We've been talking in these recent chats about how slow the news cycle has been for gaming, right? It's been brutal. Honestly, it's been, I was talking again with somebody just, I think this was yesterday, and I was talking about how, like, the upcoming lineup of games, not necessarily news, but of, like, games that are actually releasing in the next 3 months, it is one of the worst summers I have ever seen in my entire life. Now, Nintendo has actually got quite a bit. So I would say Nintendo, this doesn't apply to as much. But if you look at, like, PlayStation and Xbox, dude, June, July, and August are absolutely brutal. Now, I'll be honest, as a gamer, I don't actually mind it that much, because it's giving me an opportunity to get caught up on some of these games that have been releasing, right? Because we know that February was nuts, March was nuts, there's been tons of stuff on Game Pass. So I'm actually kind of okay as a consumer having a dead summer, because I'm going to try and get through a lot of stuff. But, like, for the industry and in terms of, like, business and sales, dude, it's going to be a brutal summer. It is going to be tough for software sales. So, I'm glad that we're finally going to get some news, some announcements, some stuff on the board here. Microsoft's going first in terms of announcements. This is actually early for them. So I did a little bit of research on this, because I was like, yeah, it does feel pretty early in April to be announcing your summer showcase. Last year, they announced the actual date more towards, it was pretty late. It was like May 20-something, I think, that they announced the actual date it would be. Obviously, we knew it would be June, because that's when E3 was, and they were doing this with E3. But definitely an earlier announcement. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. It gives people time to make plans, figure out what they're going to do for the showcase. So I'm really happy about that, to be honest. And yeah, so what are we going to see from Xbox? So I think Starfield is going to get a beefy showing. Like you said, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, a lot, right? Starfield is their game for this year. We know that the early lineup for Xbox this year is not great in terms of first-party output. There's going to be some stuff coming towards the end of the year. We got Redfall on the way. We got Forza, I'm just going to say it. We got Forza Motorsport on the way. And then we also have got Starfield. But clearly Starfield, unless Forza was delayed, but I know it's planned for this year. But Starfield is the big one, right? That is the monster. That's the behemoth. That's the game that's not cross-gen. It's Series X and S only. Forza's going to be as well. But, like, that is the game that they are pushing. So Starfield's got to get a big showing. Got to get a big showing. 8 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I could see. I think they're going to do a deep dive on gameplay, not some 2-minute sizzle reel. They're going to show you a lot about what this game's about. So I expect that to be the one that gets the most focus. If any game at the Xbox showcase, you're going to see the most of Starfield. I'm like 99% sure of that. Now, what other games am I expecting to be there? Forza Motorsport, they're obviously going to show that. They're going to announce the release date for that, as long as it hasn't been delayed. Redfall's going to get a gameplay showing, because that's targeted to release this year as well. So they're going to want to give you a date on that, show you what the gameplay is all about. So I think those three will actually get, like, the most time, because those are ones that are going to be releasing this year, as long as nothing's getting delayed. So they're going to want to show you the most of what you can actually buy in the next 6 months, right? They're going to really showcase those games. But there's no doubt they're also going to show some further off stuff. I think we'll see Avowed here. The reports have been that that game is pretty far along in development and it's targeting release next year. So as long as everything continues to go well with Avowed, I think that will be there. I think you'll get your first look at gameplay of it. I don't think it's going to be a big giant showcase like we're going to get out of Starfield and Redfall, for example. But I think you'll get a nice, 2 or 3 minute trailer showing you more about what that game is. And probably the other big one that's known, because it's hard for me to predict games that aren't announced, right? But the other known game I think you'll see is Hellblade 2. So that would be the games. They're going to have a lot to show. They're going to have a lot. I know that sounds like a lot of first-party games already, because that's what? Isn't that 5 games I've already listed I think will be there? Forza, Redfall, Starfield, Avowed, and Hellblade 2. I mean, that's already 5 first-party games, and there's no doubt they're going to announce new stuff as well. So I'm expecting any new announcements you get that you've never heard of, probably pretty short and sweet, right? Like most announcements are pretty short and sweet, 2 or 3 minute trailer. But those are the 5 that I really think will be there. I'm pretty confident on that unless something's happened to like Avowed or something where it's been pushed further off. But as long as that's still targeting next year, they announced that game so long back, I think they'll want to show you something on it. All right. Samuel Tolbert, what is up, Samuel? Good buddy of mine. Check out his work over at Windows Central. I think he does some stuff for Android Central. Great guy here, Samuel. Benji, hope you're doing great. Nice to have big news. Thoughts on Nadella sharing that Xbox is gaining market share? Yeah, so I brushed over that off the top. Yeah, so they are gaining market share. It means they're slowly closing that gap with PlayStation 5. Now, again, to be clear, as I mentioned off the top, PS5 still has a fairly sizable lead globally. It's not like something crazy. It's not like a ginormous, wow, they're 15 million units ahead. But they have a nice, solid lead globally. But it is a reflection. I mean, early in the generation, that's very important. We've seen that in past generations. You don't want that gap to get gigantic super early on, because then it can create a bit of a perception issue amongst consumers. And also, if everyone's friends already have, for example, a PlayStation 4, they're going to be more likely to convince their friends to also buy a PlayStation 4 instead of an Xbox, right? This is a long-known thing in the industry. You don't want that gap to get kind of crazy early on, because otherwise it's really hard to make it back. So it's good for them that they're being competitive. I expect that to continue throughout the generation. But of course, the big wild card here, as we know, is PlayStation 5 shortages, right? They're completely brutal. So I will say, Samuel, do I think that the gap would be as small-ish as it is now if both were plentifully available? I think worldwide, probably not, because I think that Sony still has so much weight in like European markets, for example, in particular. I think the US, though, it would still be competitive. I've been saying that since before these consoles even came out, that I think Xbox and PlayStation this generation in the US in particular, that market in particular, that's going to be a very close race this whole generation. Both of them are going to do very well, and they're both going to be close. The Xbox One remained competitive with PlayStation 4 in the US, which was not the case worldwide. PlayStation 4 still had a big gap on Xbox One in the US, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't like the gap between 360 and PS3, for example. So the fact in their worst generation, like in terms of like, how the fan base felt about the system, the fact in their absolute worst generation, Xbox still remained somewhat competitive with PlayStation in what many consider one of PlayStation's best generations. That said to me that if they could really make improvements on their ecosystem this generation, it'd be much more competitive. I'm not ready to predict for you that for sure Xbox is going to outsell PlayStation or anything like that in the US. We'll have to see. It's still early in the gen with shortages. But US is going to be competitive. However that falls out, like whoever is ahead at the end of the generation in the US, if it's Xbox Series or if it's PlayStation 5, it's really not going to be a blowout either way. Those two are going to be close this gen. Worldwide, though, PlayStation should still take this generation. Because, like I said, they have so much weight. It's Europe in particular. And other markets too, right? Obviously, they have a big gap in Japan. But that's not like... It's a big market, but it's not as big as the gap will be, like, for example, in like Europe, right? Europe's going to be really hard, I think, for Xbox this generation to close that gap on, to take a worldwide lead. So I think they'll, again, be more competitive in Europe than they were last gen. But they're gaining market share, but globally, PlayStation probably, it's so early to say, it's hard to know for sure, but they'll probably still end this generation on top. by a decent margin, particularly because of Europe. Split End. Name a big surprise you think we'll see at the Xbox show, along with a dream one. You're the best, buddy. Okay, so big surprise. Big surprise. I won't give any details, but if Arcane announces a particular thing, I think people will freak out and be pumped and have, they'll be hyped. But I don't know if Arcane will make an announcement here. Probably not. Probably not in the Arcane because they're probably going to be focused on Redfall. So it's probably still early for an Arcane announcement. But people would be stoked, I think. Outside of Arcane, maybe the Kojima game. That all indications are the Kojima game is still happening. I know that people have seen the PlayStation 5 dev kits and things like that with his recent tweet. And I've already talked about that. I think he's also making Death Stranding too. I believe both those projects are in the works there. So I think the stuff you're seeing with the PS5 dev kits and stuff like that is him doing work on Death Stranding too. And I don't know, that's not insider info, but I've broken this down in the chat before. If you look at a lot of the things that Kojima has been tweeting, as well as certain things that actors such as Norman Reedus have said, sure gives some indication that Death Stranding 2 is happening over there. So I think that's what the PS5 dev kit stuff is. I think that's Death Stranding 2. And also he's doing that game with Xbox. It really sounds like that thing is still going. So maybe that would be a heck of a surprise to a lot of people if Kojima shows up and announces that. That could be a Game Awards announcement, though. I'll predict we'll see something big out of Japan. I don't know what. Maybe it's Kojima, maybe it's something else. I think we'll see something big out of Japan because they're really ramping up their focus to Japan. So I think we'll see something there, but I'm not sure what that'll be. A Dream announcement. I mean, they've already announced some of my Dream stuff for Xbox, like Fable coming back. Alan Wake 2 is back, so I can't say Alan Wake. Here's one that would be kind of a dream and I think would be really smart. I'm not expecting it, but a remake or remaster of one of the Elder Scrolls games would be really smart considering we've still got years to go before Elder Scrolls 6. So something to fill in that gap would be very smart. That'd be a bit of a dream announcement because I love those games, like an Oblivion remake or a Skyrim remake. That would sell a ridiculous amount of copies. Skyrim's probably new enough it doesn't need it. But if you did like Morrowind or Oblivion, I think Oblivion would be very smart to get a remake. Even if it's not now, at some point, that would sell great. It was kind of a landmark Xbox Elder Scrolls game when it came out. So an Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, I'd freak out, right? I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be a dream announcement for me. I'd be hyped. That would be awesome. Matt McCoffin here. Benji, when do you think we're going to see Sony's quarterly earnings for the gaming dev? Let's hope this chip shortage hasn't affected them too much. Love the show, bro. Congrats on all your success. It's very kind of you. Thank you so much. So what do I think? Sony's announced their earnings. It's May something. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe 11th or 14th, something like that. So it's pretty soon, a couple weeks. And the shortages is going to affect them. It's going to be pretty crazy. My question here is if they hit their 2 million forecast. This news out of Xbox, it makes me wonder if they hit 2 million, y'all. So their forecast was that they were going to hit 2 million this quarter. And let me tell you why I'm wondering if they were actually able to do that. So a good friend of mine, guy who's a math wizard, Welfare, this was an estimate, so do not take this as fact because we don't know. He was just estimating based off the hardware revenue. He had Xbox Series consoles estimated around 1.9 million for this quarter. Now, of course, give or take some money there, right? That's close enough to 2 million. Maybe it was 2 million. But, and that's just an estimate. But let's just say theoretically Welfare's right there. We know that in many of the biggest markets now, Xbox outsold PlayStation for the quarter. We know in the US they outsold PlayStation. We know in the UK. We know in Canada. And we know in Western Europe, which is a PlayStation stronghold. So if they're at, let's say, 1.9 or 2 million, and they've been outsold by Xbox in so many of these markets, it makes you wonder how they were actually able to hit 2 million then, because Japan by itself can't make up that gap. It will be some of that gap for sure. I guess the big question, could these emerging markets like India, for example, or markets like that have made up a bit of the gap? Possible, but from what I've heard from people in these countries that I talk to, these shortages are still brutal. So it's like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if those markets could have made up the gap with those big, major markets, right? It is such an open question. I am fascinated to see Sony's earnings. I think this has been one of the quarters I've been most interested to see the PlayStation results ever. And it's strictly because, did they hit that 2 million? If I had to bet on it right now, I'll say yes. I'm just not sure where they made up that gap. I think it would have had to be emerging markets. If so, they must have sent a bunch to, who knows, maybe China, maybe India. It's hard to say, but or maybe South America. It's just so hard to say. So I'm very interested to see that, and I'm very, very interested to see their forecast for the next 3 months and if that increases or not. I'm fascinated to see Sony's earnings. Fascinated. So we'll have to see, Matt. It's hard to say. Really hard to say right now. D Britain 101. Benji, love the show. Thank you so much. I love doing these chats. Absolutely love them. My question is, Xbox Game Pass profitable right now? Seems to be priced to gain subscribers / market percentage in the future, but is it profitable right now? Well, I don't know all of the inner workings at Xbox. I know a lot of people at Xbox. Probably I know more people at Xbox first party than any other platform holder, because they are awesome and they are very supportive of me. Like crazy. I can't believe how supportive the people over at Xbox are of me. It's crazy. So many of them follow me and interact with my tweets. It blows my mind. So I know a lot of people at Xbox, but spoiler alert, they don't share all the juicy info with me. I would love to have this info. Trust me. D Britain, I would love to know the exact profitability of the Xbox division. I'd love to know Game Pass. I'd love to know all of it, but they don't share that stuff with me, which is probably pretty smart, right? Since I'm a guy that online talks about this stuff. I'm not a leaker, so I can promise you I wouldn't come out here and give you their info, but I'd love to know it, and I see why they definitely wouldn't share it with me, because they want to keep that internal, right? But do I think that Game Pass right now is profitable? No, I don't think it's profitable by itself. The thing that Microsoft's banking on right now, though, is they don't need Game Pass to be profitable. I am very confident that the Xbox division as a whole is profitable right now. So right now they're using Game Pass as a bit of a loss leader to get to long-term growth, right? The goal with Game Pass, just like every single subscription, is to get as many subscribers as you can in early on, and then eventually get that to a high enough spot that you're making profit, that you can raise prices, things like that. I think one big thing that Microsoft needs to be very careful about with Game Pass, like we talked about, I think on the last chat or so, they need to be very careful about raising prices because of things we've seen out of Netflix. The price increase isn't the only factor for Netflix stagnating, but I think it is a factor. So Microsoft and Xbox need to be very careful on raising that price. I think they can still raise it a bit, but I wouldn't be out here every 6 to 12 months getting a price increase. I'd be very cautious on that. Very cautious. At some point, I think they do have to raise the price, but when they raise that price, I would do it as like a one-off, and I would not raise that price for quite a while afterwards. Maybe you can again at some point, but like I said, I wouldn't do that in like another 6 to 12 months. Like, hey, here's a price increase, and 8 months later, hey, here's another price increase. That's real dangerous, okay? It's really, really dangerous. So whenever they do eventually raise that price tag, keep it there for like 2 or 3 years or whatever, right? Keep it there for a while so you're not getting people feel like they're constantly getting inched up. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do on a subscription service. I think we're kind of seeing some evidence of that with Netflix. So do I think that Game Pass by itself specifically, just purely Game Pass, is profitable at the moment? No, but I think that right now, Game Pass by itself doesn't have to be profitable. At some point, they want it to be, right? Like anything, you want it to be profitable. So the goal is definitely to get it there. And I could be wrong. Maybe it is. This is just as an outsider looking in. But if I had to gamble, I'd say it's probably not profitable right now, but they'll get there. But it doesn't have to be at the moment, because it's the important thing about it is building the whole ecosystem and then getting that subscriber base up to get there. So that's what I think. But again, I don't know this for sure. DB will rise. Benji, whose firstborn child do we have to sacrifice to finally get a AAA Superman game? Yeah, it has to happen, right? Seriously, why WB haven't yet made a HQ game, high quality game, about probably the most popular fictional character of all time? DB, I think that every dev who has tried to do this, because there's been some rumblings that at some point maybe Rocksteady were trying or toying with the Superman idea, and maybe some other WB companies. No one's been able to quite figure it out, and the Superman games we've had that have been released have been really terrible. DB, I agree with you. I think never making another big budget, high quality Superman game would be pretty crazy. I think you can make that. And I especially think so with modern technology. I don't know if people have seen that like mod that's going around. It's not a mod. It's like, what kind of is, but someone took basically that Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo and they inserted like Superman into it and had him flying around the city. And dude, tell me that didn't look cool, considering it was just like a one-off random, like, I think it was one person making it. I mean, the tech is probably getting there that you could make something really cool with the city flying around like that. DB, I think it should happen. Will it happen? I don't know, but Superman's a big enough character. I think you could make it really successful. It's just going to take a dev figuring it out. It's going to take a dev figuring out how to do it. Can be. Benji, what are your thoughts about 2-hour trials only in the highest tier of PS Plus? I think it sucks. What is Sony thinking here? All right, let's get into this. This is going to be a controversial topic. All right. What about these 2-hour trials? I'm going to give you two perspectives here, okay? I'm going to give you what I think as a consumer perspective and what I think publishers are going to think. As a consumer, I think having a 2-hour trial available for every game on your platform, priced over a certain price, is pretty freaking awesome, right? Like, if you're a consumer, I'm strictly talking about consumers here. Like, do I think it's pretty dang cool that anybody, if you're unsure if you want to drop $60 or $70 on a game, right? We're talking about a lot of money, that you can go in, try this game for a couple hours, see if you like it before you drop that kind of cash on it. I think as a consumer, that is a great, cool thing to have. On the flip side, do I think publishers will be happy about this? No, I don't think so at all. And I'm very curious how this plays out. Some of the reporting sounds like this hasn't even been officially announced to third-party publishers. Again, I don't have the inside info on this, so I have no idea if that's true. But if you ask me to take a guess, do I think publishers will like being forced, because it is forced, into this? No, I don't think they're going to like this at all. I think Sony's going to get a lot of pushback over this, to be honest, behind the scenes. I have no idea how this is going to shake out, Ken B. I'm not telling you that publishers are going to force them to not do this, because I don't know. I have no clue how this is going to shake out, Ken. I'm of two minds. I think it's, as a consumer, having this option is very cool. Ken B saying you think it sucks that it's behind the highest tier. I actually think in this case it makes sense, because this is such a potentially risky thing that they're going to want to make money off of it. So on the business side, I actually get why it's the highest tier. I actually do understand it from Sony's perspective, why they wouldn't have that as either just free or the lowest tier. Business-wise, I totally get why that's the highest tier. I just have no idea what the publishers are going to react to this by, because my hunch, and from some people I've seen posting within the industry, like Matt Piscatella from NPD, who, by the way, used to work for a publisher, WB, and some of the things that I've heard from other people, rumblings, might not go over great. With publishers. So I'm very curious, Ken. Very curious to see how this shakes out. Not 100% sure how it's going to go. Fernando Gomez. Didn't know Benji did this type of show. Yeah, a lot of people don't. My YouTube is so much smaller than my Twitter. Nice discovery. Best wishes and greetings from Mexico City. Fernando, great to see you here. I hope you're having fun. Hope you're having a good time in the chat. I do one of these every single week on YouTube. A lot of people do not know this. I've talked about before, my YouTube is quite literally less than 10% the size of my Twitter, right? My YouTube is at like 3,300 subs, and on Twitter I'm at like, I think getting close to 42,000 followers. So it's like a giant gap. You see a lot of people, it's more close between the two, or like they'll have a much bigger YouTube than their Twitter. That's actually pretty common since YouTube's so big. I'm not normal in that I'm the complete inverse. My Twitter is way bigger than my YouTube, and a lot of people have no idea I even have a YouTube. So Fernando, I hope you're having fun. We do one of these chats every week. Feel free to come back if you're having fun. We'll be back doing it next week too. Let me make sure I haven't missed any super chats, because it's been a little bit. I just want to make sure we do have a super chat. Matt Duffy here with a 2. Thank you so much, Matt. Have you covered the Bethesda leaks today? Thanks. I haven't. So sounds like we got a real leak and a fake leak. So for anyone that missed this, and I don't know. I'm not involved on this, okay? There's one piece of info from the leak that went out on Twitter that I knew wasn't real the moment I saw it. And I can't go into info on this, but that's because I know people making games at one of these studios, and I know that particular thing was not something they're making. I know what they're making. I'm not going to say which one it was, but I saw part of the leak, and I was like, well, I definitely know that's not real because I know what they're working on, and it ain't that. So there was one particular part of it that I knew was not right. The other stuff, some of it, I really didn't know. So it got a lot of traction. I'm not going to list the whole thing here, but there was like a whole bunch of games in this leak, right, that was getting around. A lot of people got this leak. One person tweeted it out, but there was other people that got past the same information. So I wouldn't be too tough necessarily on the person who tweeted it, because this was one of those things that's going around. Guys, I've told you this on the chat many times. This is why you don't see me constantly talking about rumors that I hear, because this stuff happens all the time. I'm telling you, this sort of info, even multiple people will get stuff like this, and it ain't true. And I am not going to be like a Grubb or a Jason Schreier who go around and do a ton of hardcore research to find out what leaks are real and not, because that's not really my thing, right? I'm more of like a sales, business, reporting kind of guy, while they are, particularly Grubb, right? He's much more in the vein of like an insider, finding out what's next. I hear tons of real stuff, but I also hear tons of fake stuff. So I don't freaking get involved in this game, because you're just gambling with dice here. And so anyways, there was one particular part I knew wasn't real. Some other stuff, Jason Schreier has come out and said he confirmed that the source isn't real. I'm not going to tell you that all of it's not real or not. I don't know. The other part that we found out is there was a real Starfield leak on the Reset Era forum. Someone came in. My personal opinion was this was super foolish to do, because they gave a little bit too much info that could probably track down who they are. Not going to go into any details here, but there was some hints there that if a company wants to search hard enough, they could probably piece that together. And they basically leaked some stuff about Starfield. It was basically just their opinions on the game. They confirmed that space flight's in the game, which probably, again, not smart to do whenever you're going to leave some breadcrumbs on who you are. And they had some interesting stuff to say. They said that they weren't personally crazy about some of the flying stuff. They didn't love the shooting mechanics. They said, though, that it has a freaking ton of content already, that there's some very good stuff about this game. This is only one report. It is hard to say what here is going to be the final product, right? Maybe flying feels like amazing in the final product. All we know is this person really is who they said they were. Jason Schreier confirmed it. So there was definitely, it's a real valid opinion that was worth reading, but I wouldn't read too much into it, just because, again, this was stuff that was not finalized in development, and also it's one person's opinion. You can look at any review, and some people score a game a 5 out of 10, some people score a game a 9 out of 10. So who knows about the final product, but the Starfield stuff was real. which was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. That was definitely a mistake, though, to do that. You do that kind of stuff like you send it in a DM. You like DM that to somebody else, and then somebody else posts it. You don't post that yourself. That's risky. Eternal Umbra with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Eternal. Very kind of you. Yo, Benji, my brother, would love to have you as a guest on the Xbox Infinite podcast in June. Sent you a DM on Twitter if you're interested. Okay, I am the world's worst human being about DMs. Every single person on planet Earth will tell you that because I get DMs all the time. And I'm Eternal. I'm not joking. I'm the worst person on the planet about Twitter DMs because I get overwhelmed by them. One day, I'm committing to it right now. One day, you have evidence of this, of me on video saying this. In the next 2 weeks sometime, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to reply, I'm not exaggerating here, to hundreds of DMs. I'm just going to clear this freaking thing out. And then as they come in, I'm going to stay on top of it. Because what happens, Eternal, is like I was doing a thing where it's like, oh, I'm only going to check my Twitter DMs every once in a while. And the problem is I get so many, literally hundreds, that they build up and they become almost unbearable for me to go through because it's just so many. So I like look at the list and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take me hours to get through this. So the problem is it builds up to crazy amounts. Eternal, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to friggin' rock these things out in the next 2 weeks. And from that point on, I'm committing when the DMs come in, I read it and I respond. So it doesn't build up like this because otherwise it becomes almost impossible to manage. So Xbox Infinite Podcast in June, Eternal, let's shoot for it. I'd love to be on your podcast. I can't give you an exact date yet. I am going to be on vacation during early June. So I'll get to you, Eternal. Let's shoot for like mid to late June, something like that. And I'll hop on your podcast, okay? We'll work a date out for sure. So mid to late June, somewhere in there, okay? I just can't do it early on because I'll be on vacation for like the first it's like a week and a half in June. Okay. Super chats are cleared. Back to your free questions, y'all. Thank you for a great turnout today. Thank you for all the super chats. Y'all are rocking. I'm going to still be going for quite a while. So we still got time. If you got questions in here, don't worry. I still got quite a bit of time to hit questions. I'm not in a rush today. Dear Amaro, hope I'm saying the name correctly. Benji, Xbox saying they're the market leader in the first Q of 2022 is because the demand or the stock. And if PS5 would have stock, who would be the market leader among next-gen consoles? Yeah, Dior, I was talking about this earlier. My hunch is that globally, let's just say a dream perfect scenario where both PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, there's no shortages, right? We're playing obviously with the mystery scenario since we know there are, but if both fully, doesn't matter, completely stocked, you can find every single console on a store shelf. Globally, Dior, I really do think PlayStation 5 would have been the market leader in the first 3 months. I think that Europe gap is too hard to overcome. Plus, you combine that with Japan, where they do have a natural lead. And I think globally, PlayStation, and I don't think that's controversial. I think it's a pretty safe statement. PS5 would probably be the market leader for that quarter. Again, like I said earlier, U.S. is the wild card. I honestly could see that going either way. Who knows how the U.S. is going to shake out this generation? Because it wasn't a one-off in the U.S. that this happened, right? In Europe and globally in a lot of these markets, this quarter was a bit of a one-off, right? It was like, well, this has just happened recently, right? The last 2 months were the first 2 months since launch that Xbox outsold PlayStation in Europe. But in the US, that hasn't been the case. Xbox outsold PlayStation 5 in November in the US. They outsold PlayStation 5 in December in the US. So Xbox in particular, that market, it's a total wild card. That thing is going to end up, who knows, by the end of this generation. But globally, Dior, yeah, this past quarter, if both were just fully in stock, I do think PS5 would have had the edge. Yeah, for sure. For sure. US, who knows? That's anybody's game. Jupo here with a question. Why Sony delayed the investor call? I've been asked this before. I honestly don't know. Honestly don't know. I don't have any additional info for you on that. I'm sorry. I just don't know. I don't know why they did it. I asked you this because you are an analyst. Well, Kind of. Not really. Let me go into it. And how many times Sony delayed it and why. I think this is the third or second time. But in any of the previous delays, they say, we delayed because of bad numbers or trying to compilate other numbers, etc. Once was because of an earthquake, another because of COVID. So why this time? I'm not really a rumor guy. I hate those rumors. I hate speculation, etc. But my boy, hearing the acquisition rumors and this delay makes me think, thanks for your work. Love you. Oh, thank you so much. Very kind, Jupo. So, I hate to say it, Jupo, because it's a great question. You gave a lot of great insight there. I have no idea. Literally couldn't tell you. My theory, and this is a total theory, literally a total theory. I mentioned this, I think, when I was asked about this in the last chat. I think it might, and this is a huge might, but it might have to do with their forecast for PlayStation in the next 3 months and the fiscal year. The next fiscal year. Again, I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone at Sony about this, but maybe they're just still trying to lock down exactly what the heck is going to happen with hardware, because unlike Microsoft, for example, with Xbox is an important part of Microsoft, but it's nowhere near like their main thing, right? I will tell you, Microsoft's talking way more about gaming on their earnings calls than they ever have before. I've been listening to these earnings calls forever, and I am not kidding. So many of these things, I would hop off the call and I'd be like, that was a complete waste of time. They didn't talk about gaming basically at all. That's really changed, particularly in the last 2 earnings calls, which is really nice to see, because it shows you that gaming is becoming a more important thing to Microsoft. You're seeing Satya Nadella talk about it way more. You're seeing Amy Hood talk about it way more. So, but for Sony, PlayStation's a gigantic part of their business. Not the only. Sony Pictures has had a lot of success. Some of their other fields have had success. But PlayStation's like a huge impact on Sony's overall business. So maybe they're still trying to lock down that forecast, and before they talk to investors, they really want to have a solid idea about how that's going to freaking go. Maybe that's why, but I don't know. And in terms of being an analyst, I'm always cautious about this. I am not a paid professional analyst. I do all of this stuff completely on my own. I ain't the best at it. Matt Piscatella, Daniel Ahmed, these professionals, these guys are better than me at it. I'm just a guy on my own doing the best that I can. I used to list that I was an independent analyst on my Twitter. I've changed that quite a while ago now. I think it's been almost a year that I had that changed. And I did that just for clarity, because I think some people were confused that I was a pro. I actually only originally had it listed as that because I had literally people reaching out to me asking me to give them advice, like to be an analyst for them, including paid opportunities on this. So I used to list it that way as an independent, because I was like, dude, people are literally reaching out asking my opinion on these things. But then I changed it because I was like, so now it just says I cover sales, business, data, social media metrics, and more, just so it's more clear. But I appreciate it. I would say the fact that so many people in the industry follow me is a pretty cool thing and sign that I'm doing something right. But I'm not a pro. I am not technically a pro because I don't get paid for this. Bigelow, 25. With the Activision Blizzard shareholder approval, how long would the regulators take? Earliest guess and late guess. Oh, great question. I think at the earliest, this gets finalized before the end of the year. I think there is a chance of that. So Bethesda took 6 months. From the time Bethesda was announced to the time it was finalized, 6 months. Obviously, Activision Blizzard's going to take longer. A, because they're way bigger than Bethesda was, and B, because they're a publicly traded company, unlike what Bethesda was, right? So no matter what, obviously Bethesda was going to get done quicker. But the thing is this was announced in January. So even if it takes longer than Bethesda, if you get this thing done in November or December, I mean, that's 11 or 12 months of getting it done. You know, you still have a lot more time than what it took for Bethesda. So the earliest, I don't think it's a lock, but the absolute earliest, I don't think it's impossible this gets done this calendar year. Latest, we already know the date on that. The absolute latest it can be is by the end of June, because that's when this is forecasted to close by. It's not going to go past that. So absolute earliest, I think there's a chance. I wouldn't put it as like an 80% chance, but there's a chance it gets done this year. Because one thing that's getting reported sometimes wrong is people are saying, oh, this is going to be done, you know, next year in June. That's not what they've said. They've just said in the fiscal year ending next year. So any time basically between this coming summer and next summer, it's just forecasted to close somewhere in that window. It could potentially be this year. Absolute latest, though, it's going to be next June. Jocelyn Joe, you have to change that miniature, update the channel. I'm not sure what you mean, Jocelyn, about a miniature, but I do need to update the channel. I have like a really old banner and a really old profile picture on my YouTube. I don't put near as much effort into my YouTube as my Twitter, so you are right. I do need to make it look cleaner and better and good. I'm not sure what the miniature means, though. And then saying, Benji, I recently saw a tweet about acquisitions. Jeff Keighley, he said more deals are in the making. This year is going to be interesting per his sources. Yep, I think he tweeted that at the beginning of the year. Microsoft is completing its deal with Activision. Who knows if it will fail or not. And Sony Bungie isn't yet completed. My point is, I doubt Microsoft will acquire more until the deal with Activision is completed. I agree, except for one studio, and I'm going to explain it. But Sony, do you think Sony could punch the table this year? Again, with a big one. Thank you, sir. I completely agree with Microsoft. I think they're not going to acquire anyone else this year but one. I think you're going to get one studio announced very, very soon for an acquisition within the next few months. Could be wrong, but I think Microsoft's going to acquire Certain Affinity very, very soon. Key reason for that? Halo. I think that they're going to want them in-house and to become a very, very, very important part of Halo moving forward. We already got the official announcement that Certain Affinity moving forward in the future is going to be a partner with 343 on Halo. And there's also reports that they're making an exclusive game in general for Microsoft. But I think that Microsoft wants them in-house. They don't want to risk them going to somebody else. And I think they want them fully involved with Halo. So that is the one exception. Outside of that, I agree with you. I don't think we see any other Microsoft acquisitions till Activision's done. But I think Certain Affinity gets acquired very soon. I think before the year's over, Certain Affinity is a first-party Xbox studio. Now for Sony, yeah, Sony's going to acquire somebody, and they're going to acquire somebody big this year. I think so too. Yep. Sony is definitely not done with acquisitions. They've made that very, very, very clear. Who those studios are going to be, I don't know. I have some theories. I think Ember Lab would be a really smart pickup. But I don't know. But yes, PlayStation acquisitions are coming. I'm pretty darn confident about it. Yes, pretty darn confident. Eddie Brock, hello there, Benji. Do you think it is possible that there will be more RPG games besides Horizon from PlayStation Studios? Yes. I've had people ask me about JRPGs. I think that is a 0% chance. I don't think you'll ever see a JRPG from Sony's from a first-party PlayStation studio simply because they don't have the team to make it. Literally, they don't have a team to make a JRPG. And they closed Japan studio, and the studio they have there now, which is Team Asobi, there's no indication that they are making those kinds of games. So a JRPG, nope, not going to happen, Eddie. Unless we're talking like years down the line. If Sony buys somebody, then my tune will change, right? If they buy a studio that makes these kinds of games, then obviously it can. But out of the teams right now, you're not going to get a JRPG out of them. Like a more Western-style RPG, yes. In fact, I would rank it as likely you will see something besides Horizon out of their studios because it's a gigantically popular genre. It's hugely popular. RPGs are about as popular as you can get, and we know that Microsoft in particular is all in on RPGs. So I think they're going to want to have some sort of counter to that. Microsoft has Fable coming. They've got Elder Scrolls coming. They've got Starfield coming. They've got an Exile RPG coming. They've got Avowed coming. They've got the Outer Worlds 2 coming. I mean, those are literally all RPGs I just listed. Sony's going to want to have some competition with that besides like Horizon. So you'll see some sort of RPG out of them. I have no idea who's going to make it, but don't expect a JRPG. But an RPG, yes. I think we had a super chat just drop from Benji. Let me hit that super chat. Benji with 5. Benji, Daniel Ahmed went nuclear on VG Charts estimates of PS5 and Xbox Series sales. Some claimed VG Charts improved. Your take? Oh, man. I don't want to get too involved with this because I super respect Daniel. I think he's way better than me at this. And me and Daniel, as has been publicly shown, we've had some weird times between us. But I really respect Daniel. I don't want to say anything bad about him. He does fantastic work. He's amazing. Way better than me. I thought that... I gotta be so careful what I say here. Gotta be so careful what I say. So, is Daniel right that using VG charts specifically as like a definitive source is a good thing to do if you're reporting, right? Like if you're a reporter or if you're someone who is seen as a prominent person in the field, probably shouldn't, just because VG charts is an estimate. This can go anywhere. So do I personally, and I think this is what Matt Piscatella said too in this thread, because this was a big thread. This thing blew up and I stayed the friggin' heck out of it. I try to avoid drama like it's the plague. If I see drama, I'm running. I don't want to get involved. I'm staying so far away from drama. I do not want this stuff. So I was reading the thread, but I sure as heck wasn't going to post in it. But I think I'm more of the perspective that Matt Piscatella had, or Matt was kind of just like, I don't care. People can say like whatever estimates they want. People are allowed to make estimates. I will agree that I think Charts actually has improved. We have someone from Charts who's in our chat all the time. Trunks WD, I think, is his name on YouTube and Twitter. I think. Great guy. He's in charge of the estimates over there now at VG Charts. And I will say I think that they are doing a lot better job and being more clear about what they are than they were in the past. So if other people want to discuss VG Charts numbers, or they just want to like talk about, I used to post on VG Charts a long time ago. I was like a teenager whenever I was posting on there. That's how long ago it was. But I don't have any issues with it. And that's kind of what Matt said. Matt's like, my reporting, I try, because he's NPD. He's like, I try to make it as 1,000% official and accurate as possible because he's literally NPD. But Matt was like, if other people want to discuss estimates, that's fine. That's exactly how I feel about it. Daniel was a little more about the this is a bad thing to discuss thing than I fall on it, because I am someone that also is just making estimates and my best guesses and things like that. So I do a lot of official reporting when official numbers come out. But like when people ask me my opinions on stuff, I'm just estimating, doing the best I can. So that's kind of my thought on it, Benji. I would say I aligned more with Matt's perspective than I did with Daniel's. But I still super respect Daniel, and he does great work. And we'll leave it at that. How does that sound? I think that pretty much sums up my stance on it. There's a reason you don't see me tweeting out VG Charts numbers, because I mostly try to make what I tweet about. I do two things on my Twitter. I'll just make my own best estimates and guesses, which is coming from me. So you know that that's me, right? It's on me. If I get something wrong, hey, Benji, that's on you because you made that estimate. Or I report official numbers. I don't really report much other estimates. Like you don't see me putting VG Charts estimates out there. You don't really see me putting what's the name of that other company? There's another one that always tracks like the holiday sales. I don't put a lot of those on my Twitter because those could be anyone's estimates. But I'll either do my own estimates, which you can judge me on, or official reporting numbers. But if somebody else wants to talk about VG Charts numbers, it don't really bother me. You guys can discuss whatever you want. I'm not sales cop. I'm not out here in charge of what y'all can talk about. Talk about whatever you want. All right. Back to your free questions. Benji had a really nice comment here. Favorite moment of the week. Hi, Benji. I love these two. These are one of my favorite moments of the week, too. Thank you so much, man. Love being here. Thank you for all the support you guys always give me. Y'all are amazing. Miles Morales. Benji, I am worried for PlayStation London Studio. They are taking extremely long time to develop games, and their titles hasn't been a hit for almost a decade. Yeah, this is one of those. Could them be close to shutdowns? I'm going to give this answer the same way I gave it on another question about other potential PlayStation Studios closings. Someone asked me this a few weeks back. I don't think that that Sony's going to be in any rush to shut any of their studios down right now, because right now, Miles, it's just all about content. It's a content arms race in the industry right now. So right now, I don't think anyone's really in position to close any studios. Like, you need as many teams and as many studios putting content out there as possible. I agree, Miles, that it does seem that that's a studio that does need a little more direction, a little more figuring out what they could do there. Another one I place in this exact same category is Media Molecule. They're another one that just hasn't had a hit in a long time. But I don't think these teams are in risk of being shut down. I just think they need to be better managed and figured out. That doesn't mean, when I say better managed, I'm not saying that I think people need to lose their jobs or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, probably Herman and Jim Ryan probably need to sit down with the leadership at these studios, which I'm sure they are. These are brilliant businessmen, and really figure out, how can we get things turned around here? What can we do to start getting some hits and some successes out of these studios? So I don't think they're in risk of being shut down, but they definitely do need both Media Molecule and them to get some more direction and figure out what the future is. That is for sure, yes. Randy Norman's predictions for Xbox Showcase. We'll see gameplay for Avowed. Agreed. Contraband. Ooh, that is smart. I left that off. Contraband's a safe bet. Yep, good call there, Randy. Forza Motorsport. Agreed. Redfall. Agreed. Starfield. Agreed. Belfry. JSRPG will be revealed. Compulsion games will also be revealed as well. Everything else is a bonus. Well, Randy, if all that happens, it will be literally the best Xbox Showcase ever. And I don't think it's impossible, because they have so much stuff on the docket. So it's not impossible. I think there's a very good chance that this is the best Xbox summer E3 type show ever, just because they have so much to discuss. So I don't know if every one of those are going to be there, Randy, but a lot of them are a safe bet. Could be the best Xbox show ever. Yep, really is. A chance. Benji says Matt Piscatella was pretty critical of Sony's alleged move to force publishers to include timed demo trials and subscriptions. Your take? I talked about that before. I find myself agreeing with Matt Piscatella again on this chat, that I think publishers won't love it. I think it's good for consumers, but I don't think publishers will love this now. DF, Benji, when do you think the Sony event is? Good question. Do you think Sony have more than one acquisition this year, big or small? Yes. And do you think Sony is becoming more like Nintendo? No. No. I would say actually Sony is in between. I've talked about this a lot in private, so I'll tell you what I mean by that. So first of all, when do I think the Sony event is? I mean, tradition would tell you September. That's what they've been doing lately, but I don't think they can wait till September to talk this time. So I think this year it'll actually be earlier than September. I believe the last 2 years in a row, if I'm remembering right, their big showcase was a September one. I don't think they can wait that long this year, because I think they got to show God of War soon, if it's still coming out this year. So maybe July. I don't know that they're going to want to go right next to Microsoft. Maybe July, maybe August. But this summer, I think they will go before September this year. I could be wrong, but I think they'll go before September because they'll want to get God of War out there. But they could do God of War on its own and then do a showcase in September again. That's possible. Maybe they'll just do a God of War, all announcements and stuff completely as its own thing, and then showcase again in September. Possible, but I don't like them waiting that long. I don't like it that late in the year. And then my thought on Sony is if they're becoming like Nintendo. No, I'd actually say I view Sony as like in between two worlds. Almost everything they're doing is in between the quote-quote old way of doing business and the quote-quote new way of doing business. Sony right now isn't really committed to either one, and I think that's part of the problem for Sony in terms of like the way people discuss PlayStation. Almost every single thing they do right now is a half measure. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Let me explain to you what I mean. So with PC, they're not fully like in Microsoft's camp, where it's like we're putting all our games day one on PC. They're launching there. We just fully support PC on everything as much as we would a console. But at the same time, they're not like Nintendo, where they're like, we completely ignore PC. So they're like somewhere right in between. They're going to put their games on PC, but as of now, those games are coming later. And it's more of just like an additional thing while console's still the focus. So right there you go, in between two worlds. Whenever you look at what's coming out right now about these timed demos, you got Xbox, which is like, we're going to put on our subscription, our first party games, day one, the whole entire thing, third party deals we can get, day one, the whole entire thing, straight onto the subscription. Then you have Nintendo, which is like, we don't even have a subscription like this. We have a retro games one, but nothing with modern games. And, there is no getting access to games like this unless it's a retro game. Whereas then you have Sony, who again, right in between two worlds. We're not going to put full games on our subscription, but we're going to give you 2 hours, like some gameplay of just about everything, including our first party games. But we're also not like Nintendo, where we're doing no big new games on a subscription of any kind. So this is like kind of Sony right now as a whole as a business. They're kind of like right in between, It's interesting, and I think Sony's doing it this way because they're kind of just watching to see how things shake out, which isn't always a bad idea in business. Sometimes let somebody else be the risk taker, and if it works out, then you can just slowly move that way, right? Maybe Sony watches Microsoft. Let's say Game Pass gets to ridiculous subscription numbers. They still sell a ton of hardware, even supporting PC. Maybe that makes Sony be more like, yeah, we can go this route too. I think that they're right now kind of like, we're going to watch and see. We're going to go a little bit that direction, but we're not going to go all the way, and we're going to see what happens, and we're going to still kind of really focus over here. So a little bit in between. They're a little bit in between on most things. I think we just had a super chat drop. I'm going to go for 15 more minutes, and then I'm out. 15 more minutes, and then I'm out. Super chat here from Highlander, a 10. Thank you so much, Highlander. That is very generous, Highlander. Thank you so much. Benji, hope you're taking time for yourself and family. Kind of. I try and stuff too much stuff into one day every day. With rumors and news about Ubisoft, do you think Sony or Microsoft going for them? I mean, 20,000 new employees is huge for any company. Ubisoft, I've been saying, you guys are, Highlander, I know you are, and a lot of you here, you guys are my regulars. How long have you guys been hearing me talk about someone's going to acquire Ubisoft? I've been saying this now for, I think, over a year. Now there's reports it's going to probably happen. They're taking offers, if you know what I mean, right? Now, does this mean it's 100% going to happen? No. And we don't have any indication right now that either Sony or Microsoft's involved with these. Right now, it sounds like private equity, right? And I always said that was a possibility. I just think someone, period, is going to buy Ubisoft. They are way too obvious of an acquisition target. It makes no sense for Ubisoft as it is to remain their own business. They have a ton of friggin' IP that they own. They have a ton of friggin' workforce, and their market cap ain't high. It's like a prime acquisition target. Whether it's Microsoft, Sony, Amazon, Apple, private equity, it's almost impossible for me to see Ubisoft in the next 5 years just still being Ubisoft on their own. I've been saying this for a long friggin' time. It makes no sense for them to not be acquired. Now, how I would rank them? I would say that Xbox is the least likely, actually, even though Xbox is so acquisition heavy. And they're the only one who's bought not one, but potentially two publishers. I think that at some point gets shut down. I've said this before. I personally, and I could be wrong, but I personally think that Activision will go through and it will be the last one that the government allows. I don't think the government's going to allow them to go for yet another publisher after this. I think they're going to still get independently owned studios, but I really can't see them buying another publisher. I could be totally wrong, but I think they'll slide this one through I just don't think the government, if they come to the table again and they're like, here's publisher number 3, I just don't think so. I think at that point they're going to be like, no, you don't get any more publishers. So I think Microsoft's the least likely. Then I would rank above that Sony. I don't think Sony's a super strong candidate, but again, I've said it on this chat. I don't think that's impossible, but I don't rank it as super high. So who knows there? But I would at least give them a better shot than Microsoft. But then I think the most likely thing is going to be either private equity or an outside player like Amazon or Apple or someone like this. So either private equity or someone that we don't think of as a major player in gaming right now. So private equity, Amazon, Apple, someone like this, probably the most likely. But I'm very confident they'll sell within the next 5 years. Very confident. Very, very, very confident. Been confident of this for a very long time. And you're starting to see some evidence in my play out. Just makes too much sense. Too much sense. Benji, do you think Avatar 2 will be big? Yes. Or do you think it will disappoint at the box office? Your very early box office predictions, US and globally. My very early prediction, Benji, this does not beat Avatar 1, but is still gigantic. I think people are really underestimating Avatar's potential. Do I think that this is going to pass the first and become a $3 billion movie? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be the first $3 billion movie and pass Avatar 1. But I think it's going to clear $1 billion easy. Yeah, I do. I think people are really underestimating Avatar. I'll be honest with you. I didn't love Avatar 1. I'm actually pretty excited to see Avatar 2, though. Cameron is smart about Avatar and that how he pushes it as such a technological marvel that needs to be seen on a big screen. And they're going to do the same thing with Avatar 2. Once y'all start seeing these trailers and they look ridiculous and they look insane and they're preaching to you about how it must be the big screen experience, a lot of us are going to go see it, even if we don't love Avatar. So I think this clears $1 billion easy. I don't think that's going to even be hard. I think it's going to smash $1 billion worldwide, no problem. Now, will it get to $2+ billion? That I don't know. Because, and it could. I'm not telling you it's not. I'm just saying I think that's a harder goal. But do I think this will blow through $1 billion? Easy. Easy. There's almost zero doubt in my mind. Because even someone like me who is like, Avatar 1 looked pretty, but as a movie, I thought it was kind of meh. Pretty excited to see what the freaking heck James Cameron's going to pull off with crazy underwater mocap technology and insane visuals on a gigantic screen with a sound system. Like, I want to experience that. And Cameron's smart. They'll market it that way, and it'll do well. Yeah, it'll do well. I just don't know that it can match or exceed the first, but it'll smash $1 billion. Trust me. Benji, are you still thinking, CMG, that the Microsoft Activision deal has a 50-50 chance, or has your opinion changed? It's gone up. Jason Schreier is trying to report this as it's like less likely, but everyone I've talked to seems pretty confident it's going to happen. So no shade on Jason. I think as a pure reporter, Jason Schreier is probably the best pure journalist we have in the industry. But I'll be honest, out of anyone that has insight to this sort of thing, I haven't talked to anyone that doesn't think it's going to happen. So I think it is. Yeah, I think it's going to. I still don't put it as 100%, but I would say I'm up from 50-50. I'd say maybe I'm more at like 70-30 now, but this is fluctuating for me a lot. This whole situation is really volatile. But if you ask me today, and maybe I'll feel different a week from now, I'd probably put it at more like 70-30, which 70 is a pretty good chance. Pactor put it at 100%. And Pactor's, people make fun of Pactor, but he's a pretty knowledgeable dude. He put it at 100% that it'll happen, and he put it as only even a 10% that they are going to sue over this. So Pactor's really confident. I'm going to go a little more cautious. I'm going to say like 70-30, but I'm still today feeling pretty good that it will happen. Because like I said, I personally, maybe Jason's different. He has way more contacts than me, but I mean, I don't have none. I haven't talked to anyone that doesn't think it's going to go through. YTLMDG asks, companies interested in Ubisoft, I ranked that, so I think we got to that one. Joseki, Benji, your thoughts on Nintendo increasing the value of Nintendo Switch Online plus EP by adding DLCs of past evergreen titles? Really smart. It seems like a reverse PSN/Gold strategy, giving the DLC a way to push people to buy the game. Yeah, that's brilliant, Joseki. It's a great way to phrase it as well. Really smart move. I've been saying for a long time that I think that Microsoft, if they were really smart, should have a Game Pass tier that costs more that offers DLC options. Not on every game, but like, hey, let's say you're subscribed to whatever the tier is above Ultimate, you're guaranteed to get the expansions on all of our games. You know, not microtransactions, but they're like, hey, subscribe to this tier, you're going to get every Elder Scrolls expansion, you're going to get every Halo expansion, you're going to get every Fallout expansion, like, you know, all of these DLCs. And again, I'm not talking microtransactions, that's obviously different. Battle passes, things like that you would still have to pay for. But hey, subscribe to this tier. You're getting the DLCs for all of our games. Super, super, super freaking smart. And to tie that into Nintendo, I think it's smart too. Yeah, smart. I think any way you can get more buying options and ways to get people interested in getting things and engaging, smart. Roberto, Benji, hugs from Italy. Thank you so much, Roberto. Joseki, deep fried Benji, super dank. From when my mic was messing up. I'm so sorry. This is so fun. I'm just now getting to the part where people are freaking out about my mic. I am so sorry about that earlier. Mic volume is insane. I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't blow your guys' eardrums out. That's so funny. Making me freaking cry with some of these comments. All right, we got like 5 minutes. Sounds PP7. Grub says Fallen Order sequel will be current gen only. Oh, heck yeah. Smart. Good. Love to see it. In what ways do you hope to see it improved over the first game? Dude, that's probably going to look amazing. And how can Respawn be expected to take advantage of the hardware? I think the game's going to look pretty freaking good because I thought the first game overall, it was a little buggy, but I thought overall it was a pretty darn good looking game. Especially like it had a lot of great art in that game. So if it really is current gen only, it's probably going to look pretty amazing. Because I bet the budget for this thing, by the way, just as a side note, I bet the budget for the Fallen Order sequel is gargantuan. I bet they are dropping millions and millions of dollars on this thing, considering how big the first one is. So it's probably Sounds PP7. If it really is current gen only, this thing, I am telling you right now, it's probably going to be a heck of a looker. Probably going to look amazing. Because I think the budget's going to be through the roof for this thing. And in what ways do I think that they can improve it? There was definitely some stuff to improve on that first game. I actually loved the game. But there was some stuff they could improve. It's been so long since I've played it now. I'm going to do a replay this year before the sequel comes out. But I think maybe going a little bit more into the RPG mechanics could be pretty fun. You know, a little bit more cool side content. I actually thought the main quest story was pretty good. I really liked the main quest. I liked the main character. I liked going to different worlds. But I think you could flesh out some of the side content, make that feel better, maybe have more dialogue options, things like that. Still make it an action game like it is, but go a little more into the RPG side of the action RPG. I think that would go a long way. I think if they come out and do that, people will be really hyped. So, yeah, that would be my biggest thing I hope to see. I hope there's a little bit more RPG to this action RPG. King Levi, how many sales do you think Elden Ring will have by the end of the year? I think it's over 20 million now. So, all right, well, no. Sorry, I apologize. I think it's over 15 million now. I think it'll definitely be over 20 million by the end of the year. I don't know if it can hit 30 million, but it's not impossible. So if I was to guess, King Levi, I would say, and this is a big range, but I don't know. I'm going to guess somewhere between 20 and 30 million. Now I'm going to change my mind on this if Bandai Namco comes out and tells us very soon that this is over 20 million. Then I'll be like very confident it'll hit 30 million by the end of the year. Right now I don't know though. I think it's definitely over 15. I'm not sure if it's at 20. So right now I'll predict anywhere from that 20 million number to that 30 million number. Big range there, I know, but that's where I'm thinking, unless Bandai Namco comes out very soon and is like, hey, this thing's already over 20. Then I'm going to say it'll hit 30. But right now that's my guess. Ashu Neji, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is hyped to be the biggest game in 2022. I am so hyped for that game. Yes, it will be. It will be. Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the biggest game this year. Yep, it'll be bigger than Starfield. Starfield's going to be huge. God of War Ragnarok's going to be huge. These games are going to be gigantic, but I'm telling you right now, the biggest game of 2022 is definitely Modern Warfare 2. No doubt, Ashu Neji, you are spot on. It is going to be, for sure. Yeah, Isildur's Bane makes a great point here. People don't understand how big 14% is. That's over last year of a 230% increase, so that's actually really strong growth. Yep, I pointed that out on my tweet, Isildur's Bane. I said a big 14% year-over-year growth because it was. It was, because last year, it wasn't like last year's growth where it was really impressive because that was coming off of a prior generation where there was no, it was the Xbox One still. So, of course, you're going to get big growth with the new consoles. But this is growth over Series X and S last year, right? The current gen. So, yeah, there's no doubt. Isildur's Bane, that 14% boost on hardware for Xbox was very strong. No doubt. Very good result. Wade Dyer, I wonder if overall gaming engagement and boosted sales have peaked post-pandemic. I think so, Wade. Yep. Now, what we are seeing is that they are remaining above pre-pandemic levels. Microsoft noted that a lot on their earnings call when they were making forward-looking statements. They were talking, hey, they're actually forecasting a decline next quarter, but they said still above pre-pandemic levels. So, Wade, I think our true peak of post-pandemic, like where we were just seeing insane growth, I agree. I think we have hit the top of that, but we are still going to remain, I think, probably permanently above pre-pandemic levels. All right, everyone, I got to go there. I'm sorry. I know I missed a bunch of questions. I just don't have time. Oh, wait, Gaming Addict has a super chat. 2 super chats. No, I will hit these 2 super chats and then I'm out. Sorry. 2 super chats and then I'm out. Coming in right at the end. Highlander, $2. Elon Musk buys Ubisoft, adds games to Tesla cards. Hilarious. Thank you so much for that super chat, Highlander. And at this point, with the way Elon's going, I wouldn't even be surprised. Do I predict Elon Musk is going to buy Ubisoft? No. But if the announcement came, would I be shocked? Nope. At this point with Elon, who friggin' knows? The dude might do anything. So I wouldn't put it past him. So who knows? And thanks for that super chat. And then no super chat from Gaming Addict. What is up, Gaming Addict? Long time no see. Good to see you, man. Do you think Xbox is going to have a good show? Yes. Gaming Addict, I think this will probably be the best Xbox E3/Summer Showcase ever. Just because I think they have so many games now lined up ready for reveal. I think don't expect every single one of these studios to have a game show. Microsoft has to spread out some announcements. They're going to want some stuff for the Game Awards. They're going to want some stuff for their E3 show next year. So I want some people to be careful not to predict Fable's going to be there and friggin' Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be there. And I'm not saying you gaming actor, I'm saying like anybody. Be careful about predicting like every single game is going to be here because they gotta still spread out these announcements somewhat. But they do, Gaming Addict, have so much stuff that is like lined up that needs to be shown, right? Like actually needs to. When you look at games that are going to be released this year and also games that are going to be released potentially early next year or have already been announced, like they're going to have a lot to show. There's not a doubt in my mind they'll have a lot. So I'm expecting it to be the probably the best Xbox show ever, but I am being somewhat cautious not to expect like every single studio to be there. All right, everybody, I got to bounce. I got to go. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you guys for always being so amazing and kind to me. Make sure that you like the video if you haven't already. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We do one of these live chats every single week, and I will be back next week. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already. I'm Benji-Sales on Twitter. And I got to call it there. Everybody stay safe, play some games. Oh, JCat came in towards the end. Sorry, I missed you, JCat. JCat saying, please hit the like button. Great to see you, JCat. Sorry, I missed you coming into the chat. Thanks for helping mod the channel be amazing. And I got to bounce, everybody. Have a great day. Stay safe, play some games, and I'll see you either next time here on YouTube or on Twitter. See you, everyone. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.